All right, so I went to the hearing, the Small Business Committee hearing that Congress had regarding the forgiveness for PPP loans. And boy, I heard something that was really crazy. Okay. So one of the things that the, one of the bankers that was on there, his name is Robert Fisher. So he's the president and chief executive officer for Toga State Bank, as well as the chairman of the Independent Community Bankers of America. Okay. And one of the things that he said is that many banks, financial institutions receives pressure from the SBA to utilize their online forgiveness program. Okay. Now, for those who maybe are being very frustrated about being able to get access to your forgiveness and be able to get to the portal, your financial institutions have to accept to get to the portal. Well, so one of the things that was happening was the SBA was putting so pressure, according to him, that they would say, if you don't do it, we're going to audit your loans. I mean, it's like, wow, that is crazy. They said they will audit your loans if you don't use the program. Okay. So one of his defense that he was saying was, and not only him, but another assistant vice president of commercial lending, a lady named Lisa Payne for the Affinity Federal Credit Union, which she was saying that the bank, her credit union, as well as Mr. Fisher was saying, his bank, we didn't get a whole lot of direction initially from the SBA, so we had to put together our own programs or computer systems associated with able to get forgiveness. And then the SBA, you coming in here late now saying, hey, we have to use your system. Well, here's what I'm thinking of seeing, because unfortunately at this hearing there were two groups of people that weren't represented on here that couldn't speak. One was the fintech companies, which process a lot of PPP loans, and the SBA. The SBA was not represented to defend themselves. So, and then there was two other, there was Tracy Ward, who's the director of the SBA 504 program for the Self-Help Fund, and Marla Bilonik. She was the president, chief executive officer for the National Association of Latino Community Asset Builders. So that was crazy that they're saying that financial institutions were pressured to use this portal system. Well, one of the problems with the programs, and you may have heard it, the people have gotten access to these funds that probably they shouldn't have done so. Well, a lot of the fraud and those kind of things weren't the community banks and the credit unions were saying, well, as we know our borrowers, we're in the community, we know the people, so those people who are defrauding the system, that didn't happen on our watch, is what they were saying. Well, unfortunately, with the fintech companies, you're just going online and you submit the information, and there's it's a lot of fraud. I mean, processing those, you do your best to make sure that people are not doing phony companies and phony information and so forth in the system. But it's unfortunate a lot of that was happening, and and some of these banks and so forth, they were pretty much giving it to the SBA, saying, hey, you know, we're additional checks and balances, like where the fraud is in these idle loan programs and so forth, that has nothing to do with us. We're SBA lenders. We're a part of that process. We do it all the time. Why not? I will say this: when I was looking to partner up with a firm that was processing PPP loans, they just basically said, no, we don't want to partner with uh, organizations, and because it was right, because they were saying they were getting a lot of bad fraud deals. Unfortunately, when you're giving out free money and so forth, supposedly free money, this you if you didn't use the money for payroll intended, obviously it becomes a loan now. One of the good things that they were saying out of this was, what are some of the recommendations to do this? And keep in mind, on when they were talking about who were the individuals that were talking about different sides of the issue. You had Democrats and Republicans doing different, talking from different sheets of the music for the most part. The Republicans were saying, hey, the banks were doing a good job. Democrats were pretty much saying, hey, you need to open this up for more people to take advantage of this. Trying to get this money out. Unfortunately, when you intended to do good, sometimes bad things happen, that kind of thing. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing. That's not exactly what they said. Any side said, but it's this program is unprecedented. And they're talking about, so currently they're talking about raising, they're saying 90% of the loans were below 150,000. So they're like, hey, let's make it really easy for those businesses. And what they want to do is, they meaning some of the individuals who were providing testimony on this hearing, was saying, hey, won't we raise it up to $350,000, and that would encompass 94.2% of all loans that was processed during the PPP process. Just make it easier. I'll just sharing some of the things that I learned about from the hearing, I thought were very interesting. And one thing I will show you, obviously the SBA is trying to get ahead of this direct forgiveness opt-in. So in an article produced by the American Banking Association, they published information in it says, hey, SBA direct forgiveness means optional but encouraged. So obviously, you know, I guess where there's smoke, there's fire. They put this out saying, hey, this is what was happening. You know, there's 2-inch sword. I mean, personally, you know, this is when the intention is to do good, there's always a lot of times going to be problems inherent on it. So the challenge where I see where small businesses who don't have good relationships with banks and community banks, because earlier in the process, if you didn't have a good relationship with the bank, they weren't going to process your PPP loan. So some of the smaller fintech were serving a lot of Black and brown business owners, small businesses, you know, in this process. So having greater access improves it, but you know, and then unfortunately, because of it, there's a lot of people that were trying to take advantage of the program as it opens up to more people and have access. Well, hey, well, maybe I should get one, you know, kind of thinking. So, you know, what I think should happen is, you know, the SBA has a right to audit any loan or whatever. Make it easy for this forgiveness process, but at the same time, you know, go in and audit some of the ones that you think there's problems with, you know, on the back end. And if they can't produce that information, then, you know, problems occur with that, because that's what when people are signing the loan documents, they're saying that they won't do it. So I say make the forgiveness process a lot easier, but at the same time, you know, audit some of the bad actors in there. That's what I believe should have happened. All right, well, thank you for what do you think should happen? You know, put some comments in the chat down at the bottom. What do you think should happen in this process? All right, thanks for listening.